Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're gonna start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, now that we are past our 10th anniversary fun little Easter extravaganza, we are back to working on getting the critical parts of Gameplanner ready for the 1.0 update of the game. I've got one or two small things to show you today. A whole bunch of the week was taken actually hot fixing issues with the Easter update this week and some related code stuff. But I want to talk a little bit about something I'm sure a bunch of you have been waiting to be able to do with this tool set, which is mess around with Sosigs. So I'm going to show you this. The object doesn't look like much. This is going to be our Sosig spawner, or Sosig spawn point, I should say. We're going to go ahead and drop it on the ground here. I need to make that a little more convenient to do. Grab our toolbox like so. We're going to grab pointer. This is our tool for anything that we want to wire together. Notice the moment I pulled this out of the toolbox, we see all these fun little glowing gadgets on here. And to go along with pointer, we have a new device. This is the signals laser designator. And what this works for is any signals device that takes in a point in space. That's what this is for. So to start off with something simple, like say our remote gun, let's go ahead and load something into our remote gun. You'll notice that the remote gun has always had this third signal here, which is the yellow one, which is a set point signal. I'm going to go ahead and grab a button here so we have something to fire it with. So if we hook this up to here, to our fire, hell yeah. Our designator here, we can wire this up, like so, to our set point. And now, when I point at a point in space, wherever this is pointing, it now... Oh, goodness. Oh, good. Okay. Whew. That ricochet almost blew up. I don't know why I have my testing space next to so many exploding barrels, but that was almost disastrous. So yeah, so that's how this works. Let's go ahead and disconnect it. Forgot to make that a kinematically locked control. The other thing that it is going to need is our Sosig spawn point. And to configure our Sosig spawn point, we're going to need our object info panel that just got a whole bunch of extra functionality. So connecting this up to a Sosig spawn point is what allows us to generate a whole bunch of different gameplay events relative to Sosigs. And I give you a whole bunch of the exact same sort of parameters that I'm using anytime I'm making a game mode in H3 with Sosigs. So let's go ahead and pick a Sosig. What are we in the mood for? Ooh, I know. Yeah, where are they? Drumsticks. Perfect. We confirm our template type. We have the team IFF that it's on, which is 1. Right now, our team IFF in this scene is -3, so we're invisible to Sosigs. How do we want its equipment to spawn? Whether it spawns active, true or false, its base order, guard, point, wander, assault, etc. Does it automatically despawn? How many can this point have alive, which defaults to 1? Despawn time for the Sosig corpse, and the spawn delay, which this is here primarily if you hooked this up to some complex machine that was sort of repeatedly spawning a Sosig and might not want that to occur, you know, flutter constantly. So let's go ahead and bring over a button here, and come on, there we go. Let's grab a few of these. Wonderful. And let's wire up. We're going to wire up this to spawn Sosig, and we're going to wire up this to clear Sosig. So this should just spawn him. Wonderful. So there's our... Look at him, he's wonderful. That's our wings fan here, and then this... Blap. Explodes the Sosig. Oh, that chunk of meat is actually getting in the way of the laser connection. That's incredible. So if we move this spawn delay down to 0.1, we can, of course, do ridiculous things where we just flutter this back and forth. Ah, science! But we can also set up some automated behavior for this. So we can tell it to assault, and that's what our designator is for. So if we wanted to go, let's say if we were making a defense game or an arena game of some kind, we could plug this in together like so, set that as being the assault point with a click, yoink. And then when we spawn this Sosig, he should... Oh, wrong button. There we go! Off he goes! To an adventure. Max alive. A whole bunch. Oh, that was the destroy him button. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Look at them! They're a whole team now! Wonderful. Kablamo. So yeah. So that is how this will function. Obviously, there's a number of things that this needs to be fully functional. Like right now, when we're in signals mode, we should totally have an indicator showing where the set point is. And more importantly, when because I'm sure folks will ask, when we put this away, this is going to be able to be set to actually be invisible. Because I know in most cases, you say if you're making, you know, a more sequential, like say you were designing a kill house with enemies, you don't want to let the player know where a Sosig is going to spawn. So that is going to be a property of these once we get the rest of that functionality built. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah. Okay, Max alive. Yep. I think that's just about it, Fritz. So I've got a number of other Sosig tools planned, but I wanted to just show you this. I'm going to be doing, there's not going to be an update tonight because I've got a few more bug fixes to do, but I'm probably going to do an off-schedule midweek patch to fix a couple problems that have arisen just in the past day or two. And when I do so, this device and the changes to the remote gun will be in, so you'll be able to play with those while we continue working on some more Gameplanner toys. So let's jump out of VR quick after an arm swinger jump and talk about what else is going on. Yo, out of VR. So yeah, so what else is going on? So as I said before with the Gameplanner stuff, the goal is to just get the sort of like core set of stuff that will allow you to build all of like what we can think of as the sort of like core combat verb loops that you would want to out of H3's base pieces. So the next stuff that Nathan's going to be working on is going to be making essentially a point and volume field setter for that object panel so that we'll be able to have a bunch of devices that do things at a point or within a volume. And so if you're like, what do you mean by that? Meaning that being able to have a trigger volume like in Rotwieners where you bring items to give to an NPC and then something happens, that requires a volume that detects a specific object. And so we'll be making a bunch of those little base modules. And from there, you could set up a little mini adventure game. You could set up even just something like bring the lawn wiener from one side of a level to another while fighting repeating waves. You'll have all of the base pieces to build something like that. We don't actually need that many more of them for that sort of thing to work. So that's going to be, that's being worked on along with just, as I said, a bunch of like core systemic stuff. Nathan has also been working on the H3VR Studio application, which is for authoring custom data types. It's been in closed testing. We're still getting a bunch of the like core UX nice and polished well enough for you folks to be able to play with that. I'm hoping, within the next month or so, that will be ready for public consumption, which actually does bring me to a little bit of a slight change of plans related to H3's 1.0 release. I had originally planned to sort of do this big splash, single update to 120, and it's 1.0, and it's ready to go. But because that is going to involve the Steam Workshop, and there's like 18 different ways that could break, I am instead going to stage that update a little bit insofar as I think what update 120 is going to attempt to be call it the release candidate for 1.0 systemically, but not necessarily the last of the content stuff that I wanted to throw in for 1.0, just so we can make sure that everything works and is ready for folks to, upload things to the workshop and not have anything explode. And just so we can separate that sort of like celebratory moment with the like, why is everything broken moment, which it could very much be both. So yeah, I'll keep you posted as it's, I know I don't really, for something like this, you would expect me to have a designated date, but because it's so tied to tooling and the stuff that we want to have ready for you, it is going to take as long as it's going to take for it to work. Beyond that as well, I finally got a piece of hardware from Valve that I can talk about in a limited context. Yes, this is... Oh, look at that. It's being shy. Just a fair warning involving everything related to the frame. Valve was very, very clear for everyone that they gave early access to that the purpose of them doing that is just to let them use it for compatibility with their game. They don't want any devs acting as like representatives of talking about the device to journos and being like, it has these features and does these things. So just to frame it so that you know that to any degree that I talk about the frame, it's going to be in a very narrow way that is its relationship to how H3 runs on it and how my support of it goes. Just so that I'm playing by their rules, which a number of people on YouTube have clearly already broken, but let's just ignore that. So, but yeah, so it's in relationship to H3 in the frame. I would say that there's sort of like two categories of things. One of them is just making sure that the application detects it correctly, picks some controller models for it, sets up a couple input things for it that makes sense. And then the second component of it is that in the case, just full disclosure, I don't know if H3 is going to run pleasantly natively on this device because it's through several layers of emulation on, a low power device. This is a PC VR game from 2016. It was never designed to do that. I intend to add a new option in the quality settings that will probably be called something like Ultra Potato. And the way Ultra Potato will basically work is that it'll turn down texture filtering a whole bunch more. It will turn off certain alpha effects. Basically, a number of things in H3, because this is a PC VR game, were designed for what a PC graphics card is good at. And like a Qualcomm GPU, like the one in the frame, just is murdered by certain sorts of things just because it's a fundamentally different piece of hardware. And so there's a number of things in H3 related to like alpha blending and overdraw that I think I can conditionally turn on to turn off to try to make it run more smoothly. I haven't had the time to test to see really where the boundaries are. But yeah, it's there. And so just so that expectations are managed correctly. Do I think is H3 just gonna magically run standalone on the frame at a high frame rate? Probably not. Can it be gotten to the point where it would be pleasant in some limited contexts of the game? Decent chance. I'm gonna do everything I can on my side. Maybe there's some Valve magic they can do with automagic foveated rendering, blah, 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 that sort of like helps bring the floor and the ceiling close enough together that it makes sense. But as I said, no promises. Measure your hope with it. But obviously, it's a streaming headset first, and so it'll just be a great Steam VR device for the game, and I'll make sure that it's good to go whenever they decide that it comes to us. If the AI monsters don't eat all of our GPUs and RAM and faces, thus preventing consumer electronics products from launching at reasonable prices ever again. Anywho, with that done, I should get back to work. I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.